Hello, can you hear me? Can you hear me, everyone? Can you give me a thumbs up if you can hear my voice? Can you guys hear me? Let me type it in the chat. Hold on. Can you hear? Not hearing anything? Hold on there. I don't understand. Okay. Oh, Sonia now saying she can hear. Okay. Karen saying that she can hear. You're waiting. All right. You can hear now. All right. I think my microphone was turned down. You see, when you're not used to things, hey, me not used to new equipment, my loves. So, would you forgive me there? May I forget used to all of these things, right? The microphone was turned down. Okay, you can hear me now. Brilliant. All right, let's start again then, shall we? Let's start again. Let's start again. Backside. Right. Me to say Happy New Year to everyone. And I was hailing up everybody in the classroom so far. Big up yourself, Dawn Marencha. I've pinned her message there. Please make sure that you like, share, and subscribe. All we ask is that you hit that like button so that we can bump up the algorithms and make people know that we are live. All right. Let me see who else is present in the classroom. Hold on 1 second. So, oh, for some reason my chat has disappeared now. I don't know what's going on with YouTube. It's being weird, guys. It's being weird. I want all the messages visible, please and thanks. I want to see everything, not just top chats. You understand? Right. So I was hitting up everybody in the class. Thank you so much for attending. We're going to go into discussing the potential outcome of this case for the alleged victim. That's what we're focusing on at the moment, right? Um, I really and truly am concerned about what is happening in that household now that the case has been dropped, right? Okay, so let me go through. All right, Mackenzie, no. Elita, I said good afternoon. Yvette, big up yourself. Noriax, big up yourself. Pottinger Naturals, big up yourself. Karen Thomas, Norma, my sister, big up yourself. Happy New Year to everybody. Happy New Year, Margaret, Judith. Let me see who else. Herlexia, Sonia, Stacy, who else? Pamela, good evening. Karen, member, big up yourself. Elita. Okay, let's see who else is here. Millicent, Karen, Vanessa, Tajna, Pottinger Naturals. I'm glad you can hear me now. Statius. Who else? Who else? Who else? Sorry. And M Stain, big up yourself. Right. So yeah, we're gonna go into this because people must say well, a whole heap of people are going with themselves and are rejoice, A whole heap of them are going with themselves, including the man himself, such man. Uh enjoy himself and are going with himself because he's all excited now that now that the case has been dropped. And as I said on my last live, dropping a case does not mean that the individual is innocent. It doesn't make him guilty either. Okay. And it's important that we speak the facts in terms of how legislation works. But what is important to note is that all this means is that the case itself has not been brought under scrutiny. It's not been enough information, enough evidence for the prosecution service to actually bring it to trial. And in that, it's important that people recognize that it's an incomplete case. There is no verdict of innocent or guilty. And therefore, there is no reason for anybody to be rejoicing with regards to the outcome. I'm going to say this. While the said man is gloating and being arrogant in his reaction, he seems to be missing the fact that there has been absolutely no conclusion brought for whatever circumstance there is within the courts. And therefore, a humble approach is necessary with regards to the outcome thus far. There are several questions to be asked about what is going to happen now that this man is not going to be handled through a trial. What is going to happen in that household now that there is no deep scrutiny from the courts or from the legal system? Now, one of the things that we do need to recognize is that separate and apart from the courts is the child protection team that would have been attached to this family from the onset of the disclosure during the at the school. Grand Rising says we still we're aware of that, Grand Rising, but let's focus. Yes, in my class we tend to focus. Yes, let us focus before we jump the gun. Yes, we are aware that there is no verdict, right? Remember, there is one host and there are many students, so sit back and relax. Yes, so as I was saying, in light of this, you need to recognize that a separate and apart process is what the child protection team will be doing around that family, around that household, that is outside of the court actions. It really is important to note that the victim would have had a social worker or more than one social worker attached to her from the moment a disclosure was brought to their attention. As such, there are several things that happens underneath the child protection team before it is deemed safe for the parent who was the accused, because he's no longer, who was the accused, to return to the household. It's not an immediate situation, right? It's not an immediate situation. And a lot of people have been jumping the gun saying, lad, him gone back in the house, in the house, in there in the house. It doesn't quite work like that. You're going to notice that he will be on the outskirts of that household for yet some time hence. It's not going to be a right away, me go right back in the house under the roof, that kind of thing. Because the child protection team will have to assess whether or not it is deemed fit and safe for that man to be brought back into the household, worse like how the case has been dropped. Now, a lot of people are also talking about the fact that CMR can now expunge the case from public record. And that is the normal procedure when a case is dismissed. I want you to understand, though, that there are rules and regulations around expunging in the state of Florida. And oh my goodness, CMR, you must be so nervous now. Do you know why you must be so nervous now? Because you made a stupid mistake. Do you know what that stupid mistake was? Shall I tell the entire world and shall I also tell the other bloggers so they can pay attention? I'm going to tell you the stupid mistake you made and why I'm smiling. But not before Mr. The Light them go up to a decent number because you guys are taking the mic. Look at how many people are on the live. And no, sir, no, I'm not going to go a moment beyond until I see some reasonable, respectable amount of likes. You understand? Because what I'm going to say, you've not heard it anywhere else. So kindly like up the live, okay? Uh, huh. Moderators, are you paying attention? Are you seeing what I'm seeing? Because if you were, you would know, say, you have to go delete that person there, because it's not even a remove comment. That is a person that needs to be blocked from the channel. You understand? Because hard on thoughts, you are a real idiot if you think that you can make a comment like that on the page and think it's gonna stay there and that think you're gonna be able to type again. So me I gonna leave you for go build another page because you already come on here with your ignorant self starting to claim that the little girl is a liar. Hmm? You are the one who is out here spinning narratives. And I would really like to understand why it is that you think that you can spin such narrative and be on my page. Not allowed. What you're not going to come on here and do is assume that that child has lied. Just like how we're not going to assume that CMR is innocent or guilty. So what you're not going to do is to put the verdict on the child in your own terms because you don't have any evidence of the fact that the child has lied. You understand? And a lot of you are so quick to victim blame, it disgusts me. Of course, I'm have to make them pay. I want them to sit and stare. They will add to my coins. But what we're not going to do is to carry on without the right amount of likes on this live. Not at all. Yes, we're not going to do that. I understand we're done there. I need to tag Virginia because Virginia would have definitely clamp her already. You understand? Oh, Tada, how dare you? Don't do that. Yes. So, like I said, there is something that I want you to pay attention to. That CMR made a very stupid mistake about. And this has to do with whether or not he can expunge all of this mess, this huge stain on his reputation from public record. So in the state of Florida, there are certain laws when it comes to expunging a record. You can only expunge a record in the state of Florida providing that you have not applied for a previous record to be sealed or expunged. Oh boy. And Seymour, what did you do in November? In November, literally on the day that you were arrested, you filed a record to have the domestic abuse case sealed. So you have already put in an application for sealing. And as such, you can now no longer apply for this case to be expunged. This case is going to stay on record forever. That is until the laws change, which will take some time. You can't expunge it because you've already sealed the domestic abuse documents. You've already put in a request for sealing, and you can't do two. And that is but God. You understand? That is but God. So while you think that you can hee-haw like a donkey about the fact that the case was dropped, just know that there are other things such as karma working against you. Now, once again, a dismissal of the case does not prove innocence, but it also does not prove guilt. What it does is leave everything up in the air as no proof at all. And that's usually the case when it comes to not having enough information, not enough evidence in order to prosecute. No, he can no longer be placed on the SO list. He can't. Because without a conviction that proves he was guilty of the lewd and lascivious act, he cannot be placed on the register. He needs that conviction in order for that to take place. So that's a no for the person who asked. So, yes, just games. I hear what you're saying. But we also have to be careful with our language. We have to be careful with our language now that the case is dismissed, that we do not create slander and libel. And we use things, words like, we believe that the child did not lie. That is very different from saying a definitive, the child did not lie. It is perfectly fine to believe what you want to believe. You can say freely, we believe the child did not lie. And I believe Jay. We can say freely, we believe he is guilty, despite the fact that the case has been dismissed. That is perfectly legal and allowed, in that nobody can come for the platform with regards to defamation and slander. So use the language well, because him, nor the wife, nor no lawyer cannot stop you from speaking out on what you think or believe. And this is how he goes around the place and he threatens other bloggers and he threatens other content creators into silence because they do not know how to use the right language when speaking about said subject. Notice he has never threatened me, although he has tried hack my channel, them take down one of my video them or whatever, because I had shown too much information. But that was my fault. So I'm not even salty about it. Because since then there has been no such thing and he has no power over here. So for those of you who are afraid of lawsuits, perhaps you might be if you are using language that does not include possibility and probability. I will say to you that the behavior that this man displays based on past events lends one to believe he is of this character. And I have several pieces of evidence of his past behavior in my possession. So I am free to do so. Likewise, those of you who have seen the past behavior of this man played out last year will be free to believe he is of such a dubious character that the probability of him being guilty is very high, more so than the probability of him being innocent. And as such, no judge, no lawyer, nobody can challenge you because the evidence precedes itself. That's not slander, that's fact. So we can say we believe the child did not lie. Others can say they believe the child lied. That's their business. But on this platform, we are pro the child. Rachel, what did I say? Be careful not to perjure this platform. May I try to teach you something now, you now use the language. Yes, use the language I've told you to use, or I'm going to delete it. So, like I said, when it comes to him being back in the house, child protection will do things differently now that the case has been dismissed, in that they probably won't be as wary, but they will always place the child's welfare and safety as priority, even above and beyond the rulings of the court. They will have to make sure they determine whether or not the family is safe with him being in the mix. They will have their special investigator attached to ensure that the present danger is no more. You understand? So you guys are not going to see him run up in the house right away. It's not going to happen. Lots of protocols will have to be followed before this man returns to the house. There'll have to be support systems in place to make sure that the child is okay. You understand? Lots of assessments will have to take place to make sure that she is okay. When it comes to investigating from the child protection team, they need to do a review now that the case has been dismissed about how the circumstances under which this man can possibly re-enter. If she says that she does not feel safe, go back. That's if she's allowed to say it, because we don't know, so the mother have a lot of influence. You never know what can be going on with that child in terms of what's being put in her head. It really is about investigating the parents or the legal guardian and determining whether or not ongoing access to the child represents an active danger threat, and whether or not the parent or legal guardian, which in this case would be the mother in the current circumstances, has taken sufficient protective actions to ensure that the child is safe, despite being fully informed of the potential dangers or threats posed by the person responsible for the maltreatment of the child, according to the original police report. So, be it that the court has dismissed it or not, child protection is still going to pay attention to the initial allegations. They may not necessarily be able to stop him from reaching out, talking to the child on the phone, blah, 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 but they certainly can put measures in place with regards to him returning to the house. Anyway, because there are still further threats that are there, because there has been no verdict. Child protection is going to have to be thinking, hold on a minute, is this another case of the court not necessarily having the time or enough evidence, but the child is still very much in danger? There is still a threat to that child's safety, in which case we have to make sure that the child is okay with this man coming back into the house before he can be allowed. Thank you very much. Don, you're back. Do not put names in the comments. Lord, oh no, no. Oh, for be creative, you know. Oh, be creative with on the language, the man. So I tell you, so my platform is not for dunce people. It's for people who use them head. Right? You cannot, especially now, be plastering certain names in. Let me be the only one using them, because I am very careful with how I use my language. If I'm referring to things, I'm going to say he, she, the little girl, the man, such man, the mama, be creative. Please, I beg. Right? So, imagine this man returns to the household, be it under child protection terms and conditions or not. It doesn't matter, because they can't be in the house 24/7. I would imagine one of the things that would be said is no camera in the girl's room because she's entitled to privacy. But then the downside of that is that then when that man, should that man enter, and should he feel that now he's gotten away with it, he can do even more. Should he enter the room, how is that going to be prevented? It really is going to take so much work for child protection to be convinced that it is safe for him to return. You're going to see it play out, Him nah go in the house for a while. He's not. It's not going to be an easy, quick patch like that. Why do you think he was so disappointed that bloggers had found out that the case had been dismissed and had put it out before he was ready? Because he wanted it to hopefully be put in the back until he had been given the thumbs up by CPS and him back in the house and him depan tada. But now you are going to be able to calculate the amount of time in between that is not there. Watch and see. Absolutely, Rochelle. Absolutely, she could. Now, there is the scenario out there that people believe that this little girl has set up her father, set up the man. And I have told you that that is a very dangerous argument to present and a dangerous argument to even put forward. But it's already out there. But I'm going to explain to you why it's dangerous. Because it is very easy for the voiceless and the vulnerable to be blamed for immature and irresponsible behavior because of her age and because she's a girl. Yes, there are stereotypes around girls telling lie, more so than boys. But if we were to bite into those stereotypes and those usual victim blaming stories, it would silence a genuine and true victim. And that is a very rocky road, a slippery slope to go down. Because at the end of the day, if we do things like that, and that little girl had actually spoken her truth, you could put herself in such a deeply troubling mental state that any bad thing could happen, and God forbid it does. The feeling of being unsupported when you have come forward and made a disclosure is a terrible, isolated feeling. And she can only be feeling more isolated now more than ever that it has become public. And that he had the audacity to go on his live and gloat about it. He was feeling such a high that his genuine nature revealed itself. This man went on live and was actually talking about how many gal him screw. And that's why people were jealous of him in school days. A man with a lot of sexual immorality who thinks that it is a badge of honor. Having just come off a case of lewd and lascivious behavior towards a minor, on his page gloating about his promiscuous youth. And you do not see the double standards in that kind of behavior. Something should go up as a red flag. And of course, it had to be deleted because he put the live back up. But he had to delete it. Because should social services get a hold of that, should child protection get a hold of that, they would see that the danger is still very much imminent. Very much so. Let me see what's going on here. I just saw the worst comments ever. I immediately reported it. I took a screenshot of it as well because I think that person needs to be sourced and investigated. Not on your channel, on another channel. I think that comment will bring the mother to her knees because that is the light she's now causing people to view. This little girl, how can I share it with you? Send it to me on my messenger on Facebook. Okay? Send it on my messenger on Facebook. Okay? That's how you can send it to me. Somebody else says her mother needs to buy an alarm door stopper for the little girl room. Yep, that is a very good point because you do have these little alarms that you can put on the doors, and when they open, it beeps, and you can get those that have got a Bluetooth connection to your phone so that any door that opens at any particular time, it sends a notification to your phone, right? Likewise, cameras can be placed on the outside of the door of the bedroom, not necessarily on the inside, and that can show who is going in and out, those kind of things, and that it has to be attached to a cloud recording. There are things like that that can be done, right? Because I do not, honestly, guys, I do not have much faith in the mother. I don't have much faith in her. And I'm saying that with good reason. There's been far too many other occasions of disrespect that this man has meted out to her, which has met this woman weakened to the point where she takes him back. It always starts out with her putting up resistance, but it ends with her taking him back. So, on the basis of past behavior, I do not have much faith that she is capable of resisting that scenario. I do not know her personally. I don't know what her mindset is when it comes to marriage. You have some people that would suffer in marriage just to say they're married, right? Because they grew up in a broken household and they don't want that for their children. But how many times have you guys heard me say it is better to grow up in a single parent household with healthy children, healthy emotions around those children, healthy practices around those children, than to grow up in a two-parent household where abusive behavior is the normality? It isn't okay to accept somebody like that back into your house without huge reform. Because I am not one that's going to say that a human being cannot change. But there are certain illnesses, psychological illnesses, which also includes person who is attracted to underage, that needs lifelong counseling, because change is next to nothing when it comes to that. Think about all of the different programs that have been run around men and women like this in prisons, even in America. They have tried things like castration, they've done things like hormone therapy, all sorts of things, because counseling and talking alone has not prevented the urge. A lot of people like to say, try God. You understand? But it's not enough, because I always say prayer without works is dead. Works needs to happen. And God is not going to convince child protection. They will have to be given a scenario that they are satisfied with and shown evidence of such, that he has made active movements that shows he's safe to be around the child. The behavior he displayed in that live was definitely not the behavior of a person who would be considered safe. He showed great emotional immaturity, hence the reason why his wife had to call him to temper him on the live and let him know that he is putting their family in jeopardy, even more so, because such things, if they get into the hands of authorities, will show him to be irresponsible in his behavior. Even when he's talking about how him grow with bad word and him cuss bad word all the time in front of his kids. And they themselves know that they must not use bad words in front of him. Shows that he raises his children to pretend. Because as you can see, he has grown into an adult incapable of controlling his tongue when emotions hit. He's lewd and vulgar at the worst of times. A lot of the innuendos that he makes are of a sexual nature. He likes to do it, which shows he's got a preoccupation with the subject. Yes. And that is in his natural form, not when he's pre-recorded content for you guys to digest and think he's perfect. So let me go through some of the comments again. She won't stop choose the man over herself and her children until she's in prison cell beside him. We don't know that he'll be going back home. No, we don't. We don't. Because like I said before, child protection is very different from the court system. Child protection will be doing their own investigation and assessments. And it really is about checking to see whether or not it is safe for that man to ever return. There is a whole process that will need to happen. And we shouldn't jump the gun to say, "Im I go back in yard, and yes, the devil now win." And listen, there's a lot involved here. There's a lot involved here. It's not no just, oh, the court drop it, that's fine, he can go back. No. Because there is also the emotional burden, the emotional abuse that can take place when a child is in the vicinity of somebody that she has accused, particularly of that allegation. Being in the same space with that person and that person being in a position of power over her. It can lead to future abusive situations. They will have to demonstrate forgiveness if they are going on the lie angle. They will have to demonstrate forgiveness. The little girl will have to go through a whole counseling session about being truthful and being responsible with one's words. And handling the back end of that, as in getting to the source of why it is a lie was told, if they're going down that line. Okay? What I also find particularly interesting is that this man never once came out and said he's innocent. Mm-mm. He laughs and says, "You can't keep me down, and when you're blessed and you know bad mind, and he does all of that superficial nonsense. But he has never given you any depth to say, I am innocent. He's just kicking because the evidence is so shabby and so poor that them couldn't hold him. But I have not heard the words, I am innocent and I was innocent. Because believe you me, an innocent man will scream it to the heavens. They won't try and suppress it. And there's no lawyer now saying don't speak. So ask yourself the question why it is that he has never said those words. Also ask yourself the question why it is that he lied to Vegas, who's meant to be his friend, and created and spun an entire story about a child having a sleepover at their house. Created and invented a whole mother from Trinidad just to present a red herring and take Vegas off the track. Ask yourself why that happened. Why did he feel the need to manifest a lie? Better him did say to Vegas, boy, Vegas, I don't really want to talk about it. Let the courts decide, and after that, we will talk. No. He showed his penchant for being a pathological liar. He invented an entire story. And no matter how Vegas has erased that, even on my platform, that live exists. It's everywhere. So anybody who is claiming that, oh, you're going to get sued, nobody can sue a blogger who handles information responsibly. Get that through your thick skulls. Yeah? The evidence is there. And you have to ask the questions, why did he do that? Also ask the questions, why was he actively attacking people's pages to remove the discussions? Why not engage with bloggers who would speak on his behalf? Because what he put them out there, were like brown nose him, that like to kiss him backside, and say, yo, me can't talk, but you can talk on my behalf, and let them know some innocent. It could just be you just keep silent and them talk, But instead, what you try to do is to silence the discussion. That's never going to happen. I heard a blogger today talk about how look at how everybody, boy, me know say because it have to do that picnic people have to talk about it, and it's because that child and we say no to people where do them think that to picnic, and that's understandable. So did I forget where I forget. And then this blogger start talking out of his backside and saying, oh, but just imagine him mental health and what this do to him meds, bro, and all this mash up in meds and all this I got F up in meds and all you guys are talking about is this grown ass man's meds. Nobody is talking about the meds of the child. That in itself told me that you have already assumed that she is lying. None of you are seeing the imminent danger that is possible where this child is concerned. Many are thinking that they are going to wait until the child is of the right age and stage and encourage her to leave so that they can carry on with their little pretty nuclear family, minus the outside child. What I will tell you is this: nothing that has taken place can ever be removed. That can never rub out. Can never rub out. No matter which case get dropped, it can never rub out. The stain is permanent. Permanent is that stain. And as such, no matter what happens in the back of people's heads, even those very people on your page where they, oh, I prayed for you. I love this family. And oh, I knew God is good and God did it for you. And I knew, son, all I want to are hypocrites. Because in the back of our head, on still I think, my God, I wonder if him did really do it for true. But a word of warning. CMR, you better live on the straight and narrow. CMR, you better live straight like a arrow. You can't lean, you can't bend. Because let me tell you something that can happen. You see all them videos there, so when you think you delete, all it takes is one person will have the the wherewithal, the right language to put together all those little clips you removed and send it to the child protection hotline. I wonder if you know that. And I know one person that would not hesitate to do it to keep you at bay from that house and that girl for as long as possible. Because there's a lot about you that need fixing. A lot about you that needs fixing before that child can ever be okay with you under the household. All your wife, she dropped fair standards. Yes, she has dropped her standards. Either she's dropped her standards or she's made of the same metal. Because from you said that you cuss upon what the dirty bad word in front of your kids all the time. That show me say you is just a pig in a blanket. Or, you know what I'm saying? You can't take the person out the ghetto, but you can't take the ghetto out the person. Yeah. Because despite all of the niceties around you, you still don't have no class. And you still don't have any morals. You can cuss up a dirty bad word them and say all kind of filth. And you expect your children to just grow up and not be the same. Retribution is coming, because even when I hear that little one talk, some of the things that come out of her mouth, as cute and adorable as she is quite precocious. Right? You think I could be looking at my mother and talking to her and calling her no girl and telling her to shut up? Never. And while some of you might think that's cute, it's not cute. It isn't. So somebody says she is no different. They put on a front for the media. Yes. He did it to protect himself or intimidate the bloggers. Indeed. Let me see. He touched that little girl, and God forbid he's going right back in that house to finish what he started, and the dirty mama better not come out here crying. So, Kerry, I'm going to delete that. You're going to rewrite it and say, I believe. So, I don't know if you missed the beginning of the live. Use the language I have taught you. I believe he touched that child. I believe. That is very different from a definitive, especially now that the case has been dismissed. You have to be careful with how you use the language. Remember, he lied and said he walked in on that. Yes, yes, I remember that, Rochelle. I remember that. The actual police report was full of a lot of contradictory information, right? Um, he does have the streak of a liar. He does, and the evidence is clearly there in the public eye that he tells a lot of lies. And I don't believe that that kind of behavior is something that repairs overnight. So right now, in terms of my ability to trust him, it's very little, it's very slim chance of me ever trusting CMR because of what he has shown me, because of what he has demonstrated that he is capable of being. Show me something different. Because you know something, had this case come like how it did and it dropped, and this man come on his life and broke down and said, guys, you even understand the pressure I've been on just to show you guys that I am innocent? And I give God thanks and this and that. You see, if I had seen that, say I would have paused. I would have paused and say, hang on, I wonder if. Because we're not going to be hard headed and say it's impossible for a child to lie. It isn't. It's not impossible for that to happen. It has happened in the past. There are many cases of people literally spinning stories about sexual misconduct in order to persecute people. It's happened time in memoriam, right? But we have to look at the character of the people who are involved, the character of the accused, the character of the victim. The character is what matters more than anything else that will persuade us to swing left or right. And the character that that man has displayed, particularly from last year, has shown so many holes in who he pretends to be in most of his vlogs that it's hard for me to be convinced otherwise. And the response he gave after that thing came out was shocking. The things he was saying was pure filth. And had his wife not called and rein him in, he would have done more damage. He would have done more damage. No humility at all. This will never be a 9 days talk. In fact, I have an interview coming up. Graduates. And I want everybody to roll out for that interview. That interview that's coming up we're going to delve into real victims coming out and saying certain things that happened to them as children. We're going to delve into some true stories of what happens when mothers cover up for these men and the outcome there as a result. Because there are so many more J's. There are so many more of such man, them call him Uncle Larry. So many more Uncle Larrys that have to be brought to justice or that have never been brought to justice. That same lady Yvette that came to my platform and shared her story. You know how many threats she's been getting since she's been going public? You know, people actually turn up at our shop and threaten to pie her or bring bad man to come beat her. Her own family doing that. And she's still not remaining silent. I have to keep telling her, please take these things to the police. Don't just take threats lightly nowadays. We see what go on social media. Somebody threaten you, you go straight to the police. No hesitation. People will go to the extreme lengths to silence victims because of their pride. They're afraid of being embarrassed, afraid of the shame. You understand? And they would rather their pride be protected than the victim be protected. Where a victim is a child, it's very easy to silence a child. There are so many things that can be used to bribe that child into silence. There's the lifestyle that they live and the possibility of her being removed from said lifestyle. That in itself is a threat because it throws out all of her structure, all of her balance, all of her security. There is the siblings that she has grown to love and care for, and the possibility of being removed from these siblings. There is the fact that she could do so much on social media because everybody in this generation want to be social media stars. And that the parents would be behind her to help her build business and establish her presence on social media. Have you guys ever wondered why it is that little girl is showing no interest in the lip gloss business? Hmm? Why it is that she doesn't want to invest and tie up herself in such things? Yes, he did, Kerry. He came up beating his chest. Anne-Marie says, when I was 5 years old in basic school, and it's the only memory I have of that time, stamped in my memory like it happened yesterday. I am so sorry to hear that, Anne-Marie. Anne-Marie says she's now 45. It's a lifetime trauma. It never goes away. It never does go away. And I really and truly wonder if these people who are so quick to celebrate, do they question themselves and wonder, what if this child is not lying? How would you feel if this scenario repeats itself and is even worse than the initial reports? How would you really feel? What role would you have played towards protecting that little girl? Okay, you're going to say your social media aunties and uncles, so you really can't do anything. But influence comes also from the bottom up. I'm tired of telling people. Followers can also influence their content creators. Most of you never demanded truth. Most of you never demanded an update. The few of you that did were silenced and muted and blocked. So many of you have ended up on these platforms like myself, smaller platforms where you think you can be heard. So at least those ones are doing something by raising a noise. A dropped case, a dismissed case is not proof of innocence or guilt. But where the character of said individual is concerned, I'd rather err on the side of guilt than innocence at the risk of that child. If he was a different person and made different choices, because everybody makes mistakes, but there are certain mistakes which mean you have to be of that making. When a man targets barely legal girls who are in vulnerable situations of need, who is represented as being controlling, manipulative by those girls, it should make you question. It's not like say him that give Chrissy born with no big woman in a Chrissy age group, you know. Him never did a give Chrissy born with no mature woman, you know. Man never wants to see no stretch mark. No man never wants to see no long titty. Yes? Man never want none of that. No time stamp for dip on it. Man never want no woman that knew what they were about. Man wanted naivety, youthfulness, and naivety that he could control and dominate and frighten with money. You have to be of a certain making for that to appeal to you. Well, if a man out there don't want a little girl. In fact, a lot of those men out there on TikTok or so, them a look for a sugar mommy. Somebody we can do something for them. Hmm? You have to be of a certain making for that to appeal to you. And then look at the blatant disrespect and disregard he has had for his wife throughout the whole process. Having his own wife sit in the car for hours while he is in the indoors with the person. Carry on. Hmm? Can him admit it on his last live? Ain't nobody take me see me a bad boy, you know, me a bad boy. All of them something them have to take out. And back to creating the perfect picture. But we bloggers, we have it. And if I was truly about tearing down, I could put it all together and send it to CPS, to Child Protection Services, and say, look, this is the person that whose case was dismissed. Is this the person you're going to allow back in that house? There's a hotline for a reason. Anybody from the public can pass on information. Anybody. Yeah, I agree with you, Pottinger. Naturals. Why the young girls never reported him to the authorities? That never needed to be deleted, guys. Why the young girls never reported him to the authorities? It's not too late. It isn't. It isn't too late, right? But remember, they were of legal age, so it's really not about a case of him emming a minor or essaying a minor where those girls were concerned. They were willing participants, they were in relationships with him, etc. But their circumstances were, yeah, and even when you listen to these girls talk, mighty God, they were like barely literate, just so vulnerable mentally and inexperienced with life. The wife is gonna need to find a regular job. You should don't hold back. I may not, but I'm not going to disclose if I'm not or I'm going to. Sophia, I'm not going to say if I'm going to do it or not, right? But I'm just saying, we're going to keep an eye. We're going to keep an eye on how things are handled, how CPS moves forward with this family, and whether or not they have approved him. Listen, you see, until then, until they have given the thumbs up that he is safe, I will not stop speaking about the subject, right? I will not stop speaking about the subject. That has to happen. And even if I stop talking about him as the subject, I will not stop talking about the subject itself because it's still going on for other girls. It's still going on for other children. And I need to stop saying girls because it's not just a girl problem. You understand? After I'm barely literate too. That's a point. That's a point because even when I've listened to him speak sometimes, as I wonder, but he's definitely not a dunce kid if you think about it, because otherwise he would not have been on the honors, the presidential honors list or honors roll or whatever. So he's not a dunce. So he knows what he's doing, which is why we have to look at him with a side eye because he knows what he's doing. He knows how to pretend to be, oh, I'm just innocent. And then when he's ready, he switches into his real self. And usually it's when he can't hold back on gloating and his ego gets the best of him. But there are no winners in this case. There are no winners at all. Because at the end of the day, while there is no verdict, there's always going to be a question signed around this character. While there is no verdict, there's always going to be a huge area of concern around that girl in that house, around this man potentially. There is always going to be a question mark over the mother and the role that she has played, whether or not she played a role that led to the dismissal of the case. People are always going to question that. And should there ever be another incident where this man is concerned, it will definitely be horrific for her, for her character, for her reputation, for her business. Because I know that the fans are going to turn on her. The very same ones that are under there going, oh, we love you, we love you. They are going to turn on her. Like, listen, because they are putting their faith in one more time. And I suspect it's one last time. You understand? I have said it before and I'll say it again. That man is the weapon that forms against his household. He is. He has caused that household such major embarrassment with his behavior. Such major embarrassment. And I am telling you this, if that child has in fact manufactured a story, there is something else behind it. There is something else behind it. It's not just about a child just get up and decide to be wicked like some unscrupulous soul wrote in my comments. Something else is going on in that house for that person to just get up and make up a story like that, so venomous. There's something else that we're missing. And that is why it's really important to let the investigatory processes take hold and do what they need to do. And we watch and observe and see what happens. But you best believe he's not returning to that house just yet. There are things that need to happen first. And like I said, CMR, you should never have sealed that domestic abuse case. That they out there from Wapikil Filler. You should have left that alone, boss. Because no, you can't expunge this one, you know. This case is going to be stuck on replay. On replay as a warning to anybody who might get involved in business with you. It's going to be stuck on replay. Because the moment you've gone and asked for one thing to be sealed, you can't ask for it to be expunged. And that is the law in Florida. Anyway, guys, big up on the nice clean stuff. Make sure you like up the live on your way out. I hope you have enjoyed a touch of class with HTK. You've learned something. I've given you food for thought. We still say justice was deserved for Jay, but the justice system has, in fact, let this little girl down. And this is not a win. It's not a win. And really and truly, I just pray that the other systems in place where child protection is concerned makes sure that this child is kept safe and that her welfare is placed as priority. Because honestly, I'm not seeing it coming from anywhere else. Please drop the purple hearts because we're going to keep the movement going. Big up yourself. This is your girl, Head Teacher K, and I'm out.